Obviously, and Powerball right after this. Good morning, Rogersville. We are back again live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and your Roku streaming device.
All of the devices.
All of the devices. And hopefully pretty soon we'll be on your Apple TV, your Fire TV. You'll be able to download an app on your phone.
Whoa.
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 Stuff's
and
happening.
Of course, you can go to KROGTV.com if all else fails and see what's happening there.
Find us. We're in the places.
We're in the places.
It's a technical thing.
Busting out all over. It's a big deal.
It's kind of a big day, Will.
Kind of a big day, yeah. It's a huge day. You know, and it's interesting because I listen to all that political junk. And everybody's out there saying, it's the most important election ever in the history of our country. And I'm like, isn't every election the most important in the history of our country? Kind of, sort of, basically.
Well, I mean,
it feels bigger. I'll give you that. And I think it feels. I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk over you all morning. I promise.
I know you're elevated about this. It's acceptable.
I think that the rhetoric that we've been hearing is why it feels like such a big deal. And
I think so. Absolutely.
And I can delve into that a little bit, but I'm trying to rein it. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to rein it in today, folks. I'm trying to.
That's fair. Will's buzzing under the surface. You can feel the energy. He's stressed.
I voted last week.
Yeah.
I took advantage of what we have in Missouri is de facto early voting.
Is that always been a thing, or is this new this year?
It's a little new this year.
Because I was going to say, I recently heard, because, while I don't, and not plugged into it all the time, I do stay informed in various ways and read articles. And there's a new way to vote, or not really new, but you could vote leading up to it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You've always been able to get an absentee ballot and vote ahead of time. And there were two ways to do that. You could request one, and they would mail it out to you. You'd fill it out. You'd put it in the envelope. You'd have it notarized that it really was you, that you sign it, and you send it back in. That's the way we've traditionally done absentee voting. Or you could go to the clerk's office, and you could request an absentee ballot in person.
Okay.
And you could actually fill it out right there.
Yeah.
And vote.
Yep.
But you've always in the past had to say, I swear that I'm out of the jurisdiction on that day, and therefore I need an absentee ballot. Now, jurisdiction is very loosely defined, and so I voted absentee many, many times because I live in Webster County. I vote in Webster County. I'm going to be in Greene County that day.
At some point during the day, you're in Greene County.
I am absent from the jurisdiction.
Yes.
Now, however, the difference this year is if you go into the clerk's office, you don't have to say anything other than, I want to vote.
Well, that's kind of nice because that kind of removes the default, I'm swearing and lying. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people
I never felt like that was misleading because I was, in fact,
some people I'm going to be in the jurisdiction all day, but I'm not going to be able to go because I'm whatever, X. Yeah. So, I appreciate the fact that you clean up something that's not necessary.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have been, hey, Emma. Hi there. I'm sorry, I got caught up in my conversation. I'm not watching the comments. a lot of people have a problem with early voting. There's a lot of brouhaha about is that fair? Is it not fair? Is it more prone to cheating? And here's where I come down to it, I think. I thought about it for a couple different things. Missouri, we have a voter ID law. You have to show your voter ID. You have to show photo ID.
Which makes perfect sense to me. I think it's nuts to not show that.
And so if we're allowing, as long as we're making sure that only the people that are supposed to vote
are voting, it's fine.
I really don't care too much because, by golly, I understand those lines at the polling places can get super long. It's super inconvenient. And we really do want voters to vote.
Yes,
we just
100%.
We just don't want cheating.
Want questions and cheating.
Yeah, right? And I think, if we just go nuts on all of this.
Somebody's talking about the Netflix series. We'll get to that shortly. Pam.
Okay. Well, they're commenting on they're not on our feed.
What? I think our feed's behind maybe because I'm on them. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, and the biggest problem of, and people are still debating about whether there was cheating or not in the last presidential election, right? They're still debating about it.
Yeah.
I think everybody feels like there were shenanigans on some level and possibly large level.
Yeah.
But regardless of proof of what happened, the election process has now questioned.
Yeah.
Well, and people are like, can we trust this, right?
Yeah. And I think the problem with that is whether there were shenanigans or not, the problem that we had and what led up to why the minor kerfuffle, which is all it really was, of January 6th, despite the hyperbole that's been gone about that, is because you had people saying, hey, listen, they covered the windows and didn't let people watch them vote, and we've got watch them count the vote, and we've got video of them doing that, and instead of somebody explaining what happened, they just went, nothing to see here.
Yeah, nothing and that's the worst thing you can do.
Don't question it. And when we had people saying, well, we saw, this weird anomaly spike, which the entire country saw at 2 a.m.
It was like concerning, right?
It's very concerning because we've never seen that in any other election. And people said, well, what's going on with that? And they said, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, and if there's a legitimate explanation, give people a legitimate explanation. But when you tell people to shut up and go away,
that's when you have a problem.
That's when you have a problem, and that's exactly what they did with the election. That's exactly what they did with all this COVID stuff. Yep. They told people to shut up, go away, stop asking questions.
Just listen to what we're telling you and don't ask questions.
And you're never going to get American people, especially in the Midwest, to go along with that because we are what? We are the show me state.
Yes.
And that's not going to happen. So
the problem is if you're already feeling the conspiracy, that just adds fuel to the fire. Right. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Powerball, next conspiracy. The voting, election.
I got a ding from Steven here.
They're commenting, it's just not showing up right on our feed because I'm getting the same comments on there. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway. Weird. Yeah. So, Powerball.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy, obviously.
Okay.
The election results have already been tampered with. But anyway, Powerball hasn't been won or hasn't been drawn yet, so we don't know if we're billionaires or not. But the worst thing you can do in a situation is where people are questioning you is to deflect answers. I fully believe transparency and communication is the number one thing that can keep you out of trouble. I mean, that's just what you need to do. Will's messing with the comments.
Well, I don't have any. I have the same comments as that one. So I think you're looking at the one that's on your page that you've shared. You're sharing your page, and that's why you're seeing.
That's why it's that way.
Yep, that's what I think.
But I mean, I think a lot of people are amped up, and I think for fair reasons, right? There's a lot going on. I'm going to say no on 3. I don't want to talk in depth about all of the amendments because holy moly, there are a lot on there. Good morning, Tatiana, and they're confusing.
Do you want to talk about them or not talk about them?
I don't
because I can run down them really quick because Darren and I did on Friday.
Amendment 3. Here's my deal on that. It's not right. It's crafted wrong.
Yeah.
Because the reason is it's a constitutional amendment that means if the federal government at some point legalizes or basically says marijuana is not a narcotic,
right?
Because people don't understand that's what keeps marijuana in the realm that it is because the federal government's labeled it as a narcotic. So if the federal government does away with that, then it's going to have problems because of this constitutional amendment in Missouri, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I saw 3 problems with it. Even if I was pro-marijuana, which I'm really not, although as a libertarian, I kind of don't care what you do, as long as it doesn't affect me or anybody else.
Yeah.
So I saw three problems. One, it's a constitutional amendment. It creates a monopolistic scheme for people that are going to be
100%.
engaged. And so lacks competition, lacks freedom. Yeah. So that's a problem. It enshrines criminal penalties in the Missouri Constitution so that even if it was to become nationally legal, it would still be criminal at some level in Missouri. Beyond what the feds would do that. And I don't like the expungement provisions because the expunging the records of people, it sounds like it's very innocuous.
Sounds like a great idea, but those people have pled down to those charges.
Primarily the people that actually have convictions for misdemeanor marijuana possession were originally charged with something much more serious, and that was the result of a plea agreement.
Was how they ended up in,
Yeah, and so it's just bad from all around.
It's bad legislation. It's bad. And my deal is in the... frankly, I don't want to smell pot everywhere I go because if you travel now to cities or states that have legalized it recreationally, you smell pot everywhere.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern is as a parent, okay, so when I was a kid, they got rid of Joe Camel, the Camel cigarette Camel.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they took cigarette ads out of magazines, right? Yep. And so for years and years and years, we have had this mission of removing advertising and promoting, tobacco's a drug, right? To kids and teenagers. A unified front on that. Now it's like, it's marijuana, so we don't care about that.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question. Are we going to allow marijuana advertisements on the Cartoon Network? And
is there going to be pot leaf dancing around with that? Well, and you look at the names of the dispensaries and this whole medical art. Okay, if it's medicine, then treat it like medicine.
Yeah, put it in
you
the
don't
pharmacy.
call it, Bob Marley's funky purple twist.
Yeah, get a prescription from your doctor.
Get a prescription from your doctor
and go to the Rogersville pharmacy.
As much as I hate big pharma, they should control just like they control drug manufacturing.
Well, if we're going to control it, we're going to control it.
Yeah, that's my whole thing.
Well, see, I could do away with all that and just say it shouldn't be controlled at all.
That's my deal.
Any medicine, but the point is, if you are promote brownies,
my deal is this is very hypocritical. Everything about the marijuana stuff has been very hypocritical. It now makes my job as a parent harder to drive home the fact that drug use is unacceptable. Legal or illegal drug use has consequences.
Well, and to some extent, alcohol is the same way.
Alcohol, tobacco, it's all the same way. And that's where it, again, grays this boundary.
But I think the point is, even if you want marijuana, this is not the way to do it.
Yeah, and, that's the deal.
And if you do want it, there's a right way to do it, and you're probably going to get it someday anyway.
Yeah.
But let's not just be so, oh my gosh, and vote for it just because
you think it is what it is and when it's not.
It's going to come back to bite everybody in the tail.
Well, Missouri is the first state to do this as a constitutional amendment. Well, I believe.
It may be true, and if you go back and listen to some of the conversations that Darren and I have had, you'll see why that in itself is a problem. It's actually just as easy to amend the Constitution of Missouri as it is to pass a law.
Yeah.
And that's just jacked up, and I don't know how that came from. So if you're interested, should I throw this out there? I don't know if I should throw this out there. If you really just want to know how I voted, you can go to my website, willworsham.com/vote, and I will show you, and you can see how I voted on everything that I was able to vote on. So it's not going to tell you things about Greene County. It's not going to tell you about Greene County judges. But it'll tell you about what I did in Webster County. And it's no big secret. I voted straight ticket Republican. I voted yes on 1, no on 3, no on 4, yes on 5. I said yes. Let's have a constitutional convention.
Oh, you're yes on the constitutional convention?
So we can fix this. So we can fix something. We can get rid of the income tax in Missouri. So that's one. And we could fix the initiative petition problem that's causing this marijuana issue. So I said, let's do it. And I know Darren, and he feels a little bit differently because he, but it's going to have to happen.
Weird. Friends can feel differently and still get along with each other?
Yeah, we really can.
What?
Yeah, we disagree about that a little bit, but it's no big deal. We still like each other. And I said to retain 3 of the 4 judges. And
the judge thing is always very difficult.
And I'll just the reason I did it, you've got 3 that were Republican appointees and 1 that was not. So Robin Ramson is not a Republican. And so
that's the reason you voted the way you voted
not
on
retain
that.
there. But they're all going to get retained. So
the judge thing is very weird to me because you get to the ballot and you look at these judges and you're like, I have no clue who these people are.
Yeah, well,
no clue.
So starting about Friday, I start getting the messages from everybody texting me pictures of the sample ballot and the judges going, what should I do with these people?
Yeah.
So I appreciate the fact that I do get to vote like 20 or 30 times because so many people ask me. I'm happy to do it.
They're like, okay, we can do that.
Yeah, I can do that. But that's what we do.
Well, and I guarantee though the media I think has figured out that the more they can hype up these elections, the longer they can drag out the results, the more viewers they're going to have, and the longer the viewers are going to view. So I think you also have to be realistic about that as you're watching the coverage of the. It may be good anymore because used to you'd get the results that night and you'd feel pretty confident in them.
Yeah, right. And
now it's not so much.
And it shouldn't be that way. And that's another reason why I think we lack confidence in elections, because used to be you had Marge and Fred in the back looking at every ballot and making a mark. Okay, there's one for Ed and there's one for Judy. And they got elections done that night.
Yeah.
Well, now we've got electronic scanning machines. We've got computer voting. I mean, you should literally, although I wouldn't do this because I think it would be bad for the electoral process, you could literally have an ongoing tally. You should.
I don't know why we don't have that.
Well, the reason we should not have that is because then you have this, my candidate's losing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. If somebody wanted to hack into the system, they're like, that is true.
Well,
that's fair.
Or just, it could... even legitimately without any nefariousness throughout the day go, oh my goodness, my candidate's losing. I'm going to go round up all my friends and
that
and
makes
that
sense.
kind of stuff. And so that just, I think, would create an additional problem. But the idea that we can't go, the polls are closed, here's who won with all the computers is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why people go, this doesn't sound right.
Yes. It seems like it's kind of an outdated system, and it's hyped up again by the media wanting, people watching. And so, it's tricky. I don't know.
Well, I think the most disturbing thing in this, what's Steven saying there? Correct, remember, we didn't have all electronics. Folks didn't know what was going on.
Didn't know.
The most disturbing thing about this is anytime you've got one party saying the other party is the end of democracy, the end of our country. You've gone a bridge too far at that point.
Yep.
You're basically saying these other folks, half of the country that disagrees with you, are a threat to democracy. A threat to our country. If you follow that to its logical confusion, that means you're a traitor and you're subject to the death penalty.
Yeah.
So you effectively have the President of the United States telling us we should be executed because we don't support him and his policies.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem.
Well,
and that is a threat to democracy.
That is a problem because our political leaders cannot be on stage. Basically, the fact that, and I don't watch his speeches, the fact that he brought up the MAGA people again in the last speech tells you right there that it's shenanigans, because it's like he shouldn't, as a president and a leader, he should not be fueling that fire, because all that does is rile those people up.
Oh, yeah.
And the people who already don't like them, disagree with them, whatever, you're not changing their opinion. The opinions have been made.
No.
And that's poor leadership.
It is. And you're just galvanizing this divide. It's incredibly divisive language.
It is incredibly divisive.
Thanks, Dwayne. Appreciate that.
Nobody is ever going to change the fact that this country is kind of divided, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's okay, right? I hate that people don't see things the way that I see them. We all do. But it is what it is. And you've always had a divide. Well, in most countries, this isn't just an American thing. This is happening in Italy. This is happening in Great Britain. All these countries are having this kind of same power struggle right now.
Sure.
Or modern countries, let's say.
Yeah.
So
they don't have a power struggle in China.
No, they got that figured out.
North Korea is incredibly unified in there.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. So my deal is, we're going to have the divide. There's no way around that. There's going to be people that have different opinions. Abortion is the absolute perfect example of that, and that's something I think that's fueling a lot of votes in this election. And you're going to have the divide. You have to figure out a way to work with what you have and the people around you.
Well, we have a beautifully designed in concept country and society. And it says you can disagree and we can have a rational conversation about these topics.
Yeah.
And then we can all make an informed decision about how we're going to govern ourselves. And that discussion, that free flow of information is absolutely critical to making our country work 100%. As designed. And so that's why I'm not a huge Elon Musk fan, although
He's a lot.
He's a lot, but I'm kind of a little fan, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's just like Trump. The people who aren't huge Trump supporters can see where some of his ideas make sense, but it's covered and hidden in the and I'm not saying what I believe. Don't take it that way. It's covered in the controversy. And there's Democrats that I can give examples of too. It's too early for me to think of names, but I
can't think of any Democrats with a good idea.
But, well, okay, so for example, like Tulsi Gabbard, she left the Democrat Party. So I went to her...
Which was a good idea.
So I went to her Instagram account, and the feel that I got from her Instagram account was that she was trying to make a serious name for herself in media.
Oh, yeah, I think that's exactly what she's doing.
I didn't get a vibe that, I follow Nikki Haley's Instagram page, and I really like Nikki Haley. Uh-huh. And she seems very professional, but at the same time, not it's easy for her to point out what's going on, talk about real problems, but in a professional way. Tulsi, that's not what I got from her Instagram. I got a very media driven. She wants to write books and make podcasts and make money, right?
No, I think
and
that's
so
right.
I was just kind of immediately turned off. I call this pop culture politics.
Oh yeah.
So I do believe it started with Obama. So we went from these kind of an expectation of how the president was going to be. And then Obama, to me, was the first, and it started with Bush a little bit, because you started seeing the media really attack him, not on a policy level, but a very personal level. And I guess you could argue that it started with Clinton, right? Because Clinton put his personal life,
boy, did he,
into the spotlight.
But now, as far as attacking presidents for just being goofy, I mean, the first thing I remember, I can remember Dan Aykroyd impersonating Richard Nixon.
Oh, yeah, parody. There's always been political parody, always.
And Chevy Chase would do Gerald Ford, and his whole shtick with him was he would walk out on stage, trip and fall.
Yeah, yeah. So and you can look back at political cartoons, from the first election that people would have made and see political parody. That's fine. That's part of comedy.
But I guess what you're saying is kind of dragging their personal lives
and making them into more of a reality TV format versus a news format. So I really feel like this exploded with Obama, because you started having celebrities just worship the guy, right? And it wasn't just I support. It was come on, Oprah, and you started seeing this trend of the process of how they spoke about the president going to more of a reality TV. Which at the same time, reality TV was blowing up during that time frame.
Well, and that's also when we started having that 24-hour news cycle.
Correct.
You've got a channel that all it does is talk about news and current events and politics and all of that stuff. But
so if you look back, we've now had a progression, and I said we've become these pop culture presidents where they're not just kind of a boring person that is, professional and tries to kind of play within the parameters.
And of course, Trump was your first legitimate reality TV president.
Well, yeah, you can argue that Trump was very much part of that.
That's right, Tatiana. You got that right.
So that's where I started really disliking the process, when the media coverage I'm seeing about politics became definitely more designed for views, and that's when we had a problem.
Well, a good example of that, I think, is the governor's race in Arizona, because you've got Carrie Lake, who was a news anchor, the Republican, who's likely to unseat or defeat the Democrat, Katie Hobbs. Katie Hobbs has refused to even debate her. And so,
what?
Yeah, she's like, I'm just not going to do it. So she's relying entirely on that pop cycle like me, and refuses to discuss her positions.
That's what you're supposed to do.
She's basically like, I'm the Democrat. You should vote for me. But
people should know you should. That's part of it. That's part of the uncomfortable aspect of having to be a politician.
You should get on the stage.
You got to put yourself out there
and communicate, defend your position, say what they are. Plainly, and say why you believe what you believe and why you don't believe what you don't believe. And I think that's what's missing in so much of politics. And it all comes back to that. I think that rhetoric question, there's two ways to stop conversations. There's one, we're going to just not let you say it. Yeah. But then we've got this whole other thing where we're going to say, well, that's disinformation. That's fake news. Or we're just going to call you names. We're going to call you deplorable. We're going to say you're a roach if you're a white woman voting for a Republican. And that doesn't help anything. If you can say, hey, I don't think white suburban women should vote for Republican because they won't be able to get abortions, because that's essentially the only root of that argument there. But when you just call names, it shuts down the conversation.
It 100%. Well, it's offensive. It doesn't work. It's not productive. I mean, if you're, having an argument with anybody and you start calling them names and throwing punches, does it work out well? No, not typically. Occasionally. Once in a while it does. But for the most part, it ends any sort of productive conversation.
Absolutely. And so I'm just very disappointed that, and it happens on both sides, but I don't think you've seen people on the political right of the stature of Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, saying those types of things about their political opponents. I mean, we've got Joe Biden calling us...
It's completely ridiculous. I mean, he should not... It's like I said, it's poor leadership.
Well, and the other option is when we start talking about this disinformation and fake news, what are the big 3 fake news disinformation issues where they said, this is fake news, this is disinformation? What did they say? They said the Hunter Biden laptop story was fake. Nope, that was real.
That guy has problems.
They said...
That's a perfect example where it should be like, he's got problems.
Yeah.
We can admit this. The dude's got problems.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
he's probably done things in his favor.
We sound so sane. Are you sure you're human?
We're aliens.
And you've got all of the COVID stuff where the CDC says,
oh my gosh.
What was it for? Hydroxychloroquine doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Well, now you've got peer-reviewed studies that say, well, yeah, actually it does. Mm-hmm. And now then the more recent one was the whole ivermectin stuff. They said that doesn't work. It's now on the approved treatment list.
The crazy
for COVID.
I have said,
they punish people. They banned them from social media. They threatened their livelihood over those things that they said they were spreading this information. And by golly, you know what? It was the truth. It just didn't match the narrative.
Yep.
And that's the problem.
That truly is the problem. I mean, from the beginning, the CDC should have approached COVID as, this is new, we're figuring it out.
We're doing our best.
Work with us together, we're doing our best.
Absolutely.
Instead of, you need to do this, and we're going to close your businesses, and we're going to close your schools.
And here's what I remember, and I think this is so, reach back to March 25th of 2020, when there were no mask mandates, there were no shutdowns, but we knew COVID was coming. We knew it was going to be a problem. And you know what we did? We voluntarily stayed home. Yep. We voluntarily wore masks. We voluntarily did all the things that we should do to protect ourselves and our family, and everything was fine until all the little dictators decided they wanted to come in and make people do what they said. Yep. And that was the problem. And as soon as people said, I'm the science, I know what I'm doing, you must do what I say, you must comply, most of us went, no thanks. Not going to do it. I'm noped out.
One thing I found out over, I think it was last week, I was talking to my mom about ancestors. My family are Americans. As in, if you go back on all sides, my crew was coming over here in like 100 years before the Revolutionary War.
We start here in the 1500s.
Time and time again, from Scotland, Ireland, England, France, people, they were coming here. And why were they coming here, guys? Mm-hmm. To escape the government.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have a bunch of people implanted in a country who have heritage for centuries of saying, we're not going to put up with this crap.
That's right.
And the worst thing you can do, add fuel to the fire, is tell them they have to comply.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
And, I am one of those people. I'm going to follow the rules by default. I want to work within the rules as long as they make sense. But if you're trying to tell me like I have done something wrong when I know I have followed the rules, that's how you're going to tick me off big time.
Well, and just don't be a bully.
Yeah.
Don't be a bully.
Don't be a bully. I mean, there's
we're a very voluntary, we're honestly a very compliant, cooperative, community-minded culture.
Yeah.
as long as we can operate as a community and not as slaves and masters.
Yep.
And the problem with the whole COVID thing was they just said, we're in charge and you must comply. And that's not going to work.
Well, and that elevated every problem that was simmering under the surface. Sure I say COVID sped things up 5 years.
Yep, at least.
Because it just rocket launched all of the things that people were feeling stressed about. And then now you have waves of people coming to the United States for the same reason. Your family didn't have to come here in the 1600s to be Americans. You have people escaping that still to this day. And it's just like government doesn't work when it's all about power and money. And the thing is it goes back to the money. It always does.
Boy, doesn't it?
It goes back to the money.
You know what I'm on about. Yeah, and when did the money become the issue for the government? February 2nd, 1913.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
I knew you did. And so, and that's one thing I will probably never stop talking about, because every time I bring it up, people go, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You just kind of always assumed that the federal government was the money collector, right?
Yeah, and they weren't. Until 1913, there was no regular federal income tax in the United States. We survived for 150 some odd years without an income tax for our federal government. It can be done. It's done in 9 states right now.
Yep.
And we can do it in Missouri, and we should do it in Missouri. Get rid of the income tax, and we should get rid of property tax as well. And we should exist our government solely on sales tax, because it's a voluntary tax. You pay it when you decide to pay it, when you spend your money. And that's the most appropriate way for the government to collect, because the government then has a vested interest in making sure that the economy is strong and people are well paid. And that's why that makes sense. But we can get rid of it. We could actually get rid of the income tax in Missouri coming up, because we'll have a very strong, not just Republican, but conservative leadership in all of the House and in the governor's office. And and that's another reason to do the Constitutional Convention, is get rid of that state income tax.
There's a lot going on.
You look at how Florida is thriving, and it's largely due to the lack of the income tax. In Florida, Tennessee, I was listening to Bill Lee, their governor, talk just the other day, and he's a smart guy.
Yep.
The guy running Tennessee. But get out and vote, folks. You need to definitely vote. And vote early, vote often, and vote correctly.
And, try to have conversations with people that you disagree with about, because Will and I disagree about things. I haven't figured out anything huge that we disagree about, but, we have conversations. In college, my friends that disagreed with me, we talked about it. We were still friends. It was no big deal.
Yeah.
It's perfectly okay. It's healthy to have those things. And sometimes you learn an interesting perspective that you didn't know about, because we're all working off our own personal experiences, right?
And don't call names.
Yeah. Don't be childish about it.
Listen, and I can't think of any Republicans that really are looking to create the Handmaid's Tale, over this abortion thing. And, I feel
so weird. The best way to describe is how I feel about that is I feel so weird about it. I don't know how to explain how weird I feel about it, because I feel like a life is not something you easily make decisions about, right?
Right.
So it is a very complicated thing that I can't even quite place how I feel about it. I know how I feel what abortion is, and I know within my heart, I feel you're ending a life, right?
Right.
I don't think there's any scientific evidence that disproves that at all.
That's right. No Hampshire, no income.
But I completely understand why people feel like this is going to add a huge burden and take away the rights of women. I understand why they feel that way.
Oh, I do too.
So to me, it is this is where I have an issue. This is the old medical and government hitting heads, and then throwing religion into the mix, right? Mm-hmm. And you have a situation that nobody wins on.
Yeah,
nobody.
No, I get that completely. I think the what I take issue with, though, and nothing you said do I take issue with. It's the rhetoric from the pro-choice side that demonizes people that are pro-life.
People have a right to believe it's wrong.
Well, my whole deal, but you get this right. Say it's all the patriarchy. It's just wanting to hold women down, and I don't know anybody certainly no one is saying that, and I can't conceive of anyone that actually just like a whole point is we just want to keep women barefoot and pregnant. That's not the driving force, but behind the pro-life movement.
No, it's
not.
But
yet that's what
let's be fair.
Pro-choice keeps trying to tell us.
There are chauvinist people out there. There's women that hate men and men that hate women. This is all human nature, folks. Sure. What frustrates me is I've been a Republican woman for a really long time. I mean, as a child, I attended, National Federation of Republican Women luncheons with other women. Mm-hmm. I can tell you right now, none of the women in that room were going to let anybody do anything to them that they didn't want to happen. I mean, Betty Sue and, those Virginia Ruth.
And they will make a pie.
And they will make a damn pie.
Right.
I mean, that's my whole deal. Is it's so frustrating to me that someone can sit there and tell me that I'm against women when I am actively in my community, right? Yeah. Being productive, trying to be a good mom, trying to be a good community member, trying to be a good business owner, and all of these things. It's perfectly okay to have different opinions. Again, don't tell me what you think about me.
Exactly.
And especially when, I kind of feel like I'm pretty feminist in the sense that I hold my own as a woman in society.
Yeah.
The way I want to.
You do a great job.
So there you go. There's my soapbox for
right here on the Waffle.
Come at me, bro.
I wouldn't.
It's scary.
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't come up Virginia Ruth or Betty Sue either.
They'll make a pie.
They will make a pie, and they will work their butts off. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Well, anyway, that was fun. I feel it's like catharsis. Don't you?
I know. I feel, Got
it all out there.
So thank you for the people who listen to us, basically kind of yell at you for a while.
We got a lot of people watching today. This is a good show.
It is. These days are stressful days, and they're becoming more and more stressful leading up to them. And it's just one of those things that people need to talk about it. We need to have more coffee groups.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everybody should come to coffee on Thursdays, but I feel like everybody should find their coffee on Thursdays.
Yeah, that's right.
You need to find your place where you go and you sit and you talk to people. Mm-hmm. Whether it's at church, it's at people you're going to school with, it's your break room at work. You need to find people and have conversations with them.
And here's what I think we need to probably, if I was going to call anybody to action and ask you to make a commitment, here's what I would say. Stand up to bullies. Yep. Stand up to political bullies.
Absolutely.
When you hear people, I don't care if it's your neighbor or if it's the president of the United States, calling their political opponents names, belittling them.
Not good.
And I should probably confess, I'm confident that I have done this.
I know you have.
I'm confident that I've done this. But calling communists is not that because they are communists.
Well, I mean,
I'll call a commie a commie.
Factual words that you can use.
But, I'm not going to call him a low-down baby killer.
Well, it's why I really get mad at the F Biden flags, because when my kids see those, I have to, and I do not like it. I don't like it at all. Because it's very confusing how it's just like the marijuana thing. It's very confusing. How do I explain this to a child? If it's something that's going to be horribly confusing to a child and probably not good, maybe you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think if you want to say, I question the competency of the president because he appears to be a senile old man based on watching and listening to his speeches, then I think that's fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, same thing. You could say Trump was abrasive and over the top at times.
He's obnoxious. He's obnoxious. Totally rude.
He was when he was on whatever the name of the show was.
I can't remember. He's an absolute jerk.
Yeah.
But
you can say these things that are based in fact, but you need to be careful. And there's a lot of people I feel like saying, don't bully, be nice. And then...
Hey, Beth says hi.
Don't bully, be nice, but they're not walking the walk.
Yeah.
I really believe that that's going on. I think you're seeing that a lot in schools, and I think you just need, again... It's not good. Well,
and what I think is sometimes kind of funny is, did you see some people, this made the rounds, the Atlantic article where she had written, I think it's time, we just forgive everybody. We just need to all forgive each other for the past 2 years. And I was like, really?
No.
This is probably, but where I immediately thought, and I'm just going to put it out there, and it might have been right or wrong. It's like, let's start with slavery. How about that? If we're going to start forgiving people for things that they might have done that they did wrongly.
Yeah, I get your point. It's like, if we're going to start forgive,
then let's forgive.
It's real easy to say, let's forgive everybody. And
well,
move
especially
on.
when you're the one on the left that needs the forgiveness because you were one of the dictators, or it's your party that's getting the blame for all of that.
A better way to say that? A better way to say that is, we messed up. We made some mistakes.
Yeah.
Let's not do it again.
Yeah, we're sorry we learned our lessons, but that's not what they're doing.
That's a way better way to say that than, well, let's just forgive and act like nobody did anything wrong.
Nobody did anything wrong.
Because
that's not true.
I believe people do things wrong, and you have to base the decisions you make off of the facts that people have presented to you.
It's a wonderful thing that we have, that you can go to somebody and say, I really think I screwed up there.
Yeah.
I think I made a mistake.
Yep.
And you are almost always met with kindness and forgiveness.
Yep. And I mean, if you're not, there's an issue with that person.
Yeah, right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, you have to be able to admit mistakes, and you have to be able to learn from them. And
it also kind of needs to be an honest.
You
apology.
don't just be like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, or I'm sorry your feelings got hurt. It's like, really? Are you? Or there needs to be I was wrong. I did that wrong. And
well, I mean, we all make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And that's life. That's human nature.
It is. By golly, we've talked for a long time today. We were going to talk about the Powerball.
They didn't draw.
They just didn't draw it?
They had some technical difficulty and didn't draw. That's what I'm saying. They're already messing with the system. No, some technical difficulty. They didn't draw it last night.
Is that the same? Is the Powerball machine the same one they count the votes on? Is that what we're...
Remember hanging chads? I was thinking about that the other night.
That was the great Halloween costume of 2021. People would go as Halloween as a hanging chad.
Oh, good times.
Yeah, it was good times.
Well, let's see. Let's lighten this up a little bit.
There was no Facebook back then. There was no social media during the hanging chad era.
I remember when I joined Facebook when you had to have a college email address.
Well, I was out of college when Facebook, because I had already started MissouriTrafficTickets.com before Facebook started. So I
joined Facebook, and I don't know. It's been a long time.
I think I was there in 2006, 2007.
I'm guessing 04, 05 is when I joined. Because like I said, I remember I had a college email.
I remember how simple the interface was, and you could do virtually nothing except throw chickens at people or something like that.
I don't remember.
Somebody threw a chicken at you. It was like, and then you could throw something. And the more stuff you threw at other people, you earned points, and then you had new stuff that you could throw at people. Like now you can throw a cactus, and now you can throw a llama. Yeah, that was like all you could do.
That's weird.
It was pretty weird. And now kids these days don't even remember that.
And now the kids these days aren't even on the Facebook.
No, and delete TikTok, would you please?
I'm going to say, even if you don't think it's a Chinese conspiracy, because I mean it is.
Because it is. It's a Chinese information tool.
It affects your sleep.
Does it?
I think so, yes. It affected, I shouldn't say that because I don't know.
Janine remembers the chickens, see?
I don't remember the chickens.
Yeah.
No, I was having trouble sleeping. I wasn't on TikTok. I was watching Reels, same thing, just different format or different.
But not Chinese propaganda.
No, and it affected my sleep. It's like that instant turn of.
Oh yeah,
not good.
Yeah, it keeps it stirring.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, delete the TikTok. They're using Chinese. There's real reason to believe that China's...
I'm going to throw out there, and I am so addicted to social media and way on it too much. I spend too much time on Facebook managing stupid crap that I shouldn't. It's too much.
Yeah,
right? You really gotta be careful.
You do, and you and I both we're kind of stuck on there. We can't just.
That is the problem.
Can't get rid of it. I mean, we're running this show on the social media and marketing and all that
would
stuff.
Be like 20 years ago if you had a business that you'd advertise in the newspaper every day, and all of a sudden you just decide you're not going to run newspaper ads anymore.
You know what I did in 2004?
What'd you do?
I stopped advertising in the Yellow Pages as a lawyer, which everybody was like, "What?" I'm like, "It's too much, and the return on investment is nothing." And now look where we are. Do they even print the Yellow Pages anymore?
I don't know.
I can't imagine that they would.
I think they have a website.
I think that's right too. But I stopped and they were like, "What? What do you mean you're not going to be in the Yellow Pages?" I'm like, "I'm not going to be. I'm not spending the money with you." I said I can pour, and at the time this was true. I can put 10% of my Yellow Page budget into Google AdWords and get 10 times the response.
Yep.
Because back then, guess nobody advertised on Google for lawyers except
Worsham.
Yep. And that's how we built the business. All right.
Yep.
Go to the polls. Vote.
Talk to people.
Vote.
Have real conversations with people.
Try to understand. Try to understand why people think the way they
do.
And that has to go both ways.
Don't assume somebody's got an opinion for a dumb reason.
You know, here's what I honestly believe. I think we all want the same thing.
Oh,
whether you consider yourself a Democrat, you consider yourself a Republican, left or right, I think we want the same thing. We want life, we want liberty, we want the pursuit of happiness,
eat pie.
We want to be secure, and we want to be safe.
Yep.
And eat pie, that's right, Steve.
And we want to eat pie.
And we want to eat pie. I just think we have different ideas about how to achieve those goals.
Yeah.
And I think if we can sit down and understand that we're all after the same thing.
Yep.
With the exception of a significant number, I'd say probably 30% of the population is overtly evil. That's all. Everyone is. First of all, everyone is bad. We've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. There are no good people. So we'll start with that. But that's also, I think, a very fundamental misunderstanding about human nature that works its way into politics. Is that I think most people think it's that country song that's so stupid. I believe most people are good. Well, you're wrong. That's not.
No,
that's
people's
bad
behavior time and time again tells us that's not true.
Yeah, that's bad theology. But I think we all want the same thing. And I think if we would stop calling people names, stop assuming the worst about each other, we probably would all get along. But in lieu of that, I'm buying more guns and ammo, and stock and food.
Because history has told us people don't have a good way to be chill.
That's true. But hey, if you have a Roku device, be sure to install the K-ROG channel on your Roku device and be looking for us soon on all of your other devices as well.
Thanks for hanging with us today while we ranted about politics.
Yeah, it was fun.
You know.
Should be back tomorrow with Dollars and Cents. Bruce Porter's back from his hiatus, his vacation. And
I'm glad he had a vacation. Good for Bruce.
He did have a vacation. And happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, gosh. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.